The common sense we have learned in textbooks since childhood has always been fixed on one answer. Humans are the only intelligent civilization in the history of the Earth's evolution that has developed mature cities, perfected legislation, and large-scale projects. However, in recent decades, archaeological technologies such as LiDAR, carbon-14 dating, and underground drilling have successively landed on various continents around the world, uncovering strange monuments that violate the logic of the times. More and more archaeological objects are tearing apart the inherent historical cognition, little by little. Then, the ultimate question before everyone is born, before the ancestors of modern humans came out of the primitive jungle. Was there really more than one highly developed prehistoric civilization on Earth? Those giant buildings scattered around the world, with a serious disconnect between construction logic and the era in which they lived. Strange tombs, inexplicable geological ring landforms, who left the traces on Earth? Next, I will rely on the official archaeological excavation reports that have been made public around the world, following the clues of the archaeological discoveries, using layers of reasoning. These historical doubts all over the world were dismantled one by one. The first archaeological discovery to break the historical conclusion of the Americas came from the Mayan rainforest that was hidden by dense forests all year round. Over the past 100 years, the global historical community has reached a unified conclusion. During the Mayan pre-classical period from 1000 BC to 350 BC, there were only scattered small primitive tribal groups on the entire land of Mesoamerica, relying on slash and burn farming to make a living without cross-regional commerce. There is no ability to build large-scale public infrastructure. This academic view, which has been maintained for decades, was completely overturned by a giant road network buried deep under the rainforest. After modern LiDAR technology was put into use, scientists used lasers to penetrate the dense canopy, like a full-scale human CT scan of the entire rainforest. Under muddy swamps and towering ancient trees, 177 kilometers of white artificial avenues have been explored. The width of a single road is nearly half an American football field. The road surface is specially painted with white paint to meet the travel needs of traveling at night. Following the extended trajectory of the road network, the archaeological team finally locked in a total of 964 ancient settlements. The entire road network is like a huge spider web, firmly connecting thousands of settlements. Personally, I have always believed that the core reason for the cognitive bias in early archaeological research was due to exploration methods. The canopy of the tropical rainforest is like a thick black quilt covering the surface remains. Archaeologists rely on foot exploration, which is equivalent to looking for tiny needles and threads through the quilt, and can find rhombus-shaped pyramids. But you will never see the complete road network buried deep underground. The construction process of this giant ancient road also hides a second key doubt. The road needs to span multiple swampy areas with perennial water accumulation, and many sections are forced to adopt elevated rammed earth structures. The roadbed was mixed with original stones and mud, and then layered with limestone to reinforce it. The whole set of construction logic was highly consistent with the construction technology of the Mayan pyramid. To complete the construction of a 100-kilometer road network, tens of thousands of labor forces needed to be coordinated, dispatched, and coordinated. Scattered tribes simply did not have the ability to organize manpower, just the daily food supply and personnel management. It far exceeds the upper limit of resource bearing of primitive tribes. Combined with the nearly 1,000 settlements connected by the road network, it can be reasonably inferred that the pre-classical Maya have formed a mature centralized city-state system. The perfect road system has built up a global trade and social network, and the material exchange and cultural integration between ethnic groups. The conclusion of the so-called primitive tribe is only a one-sided conclusion generated by the limitations of archaeological methods in the past. Following the clues of the road network, they continue to dig deep into the remains of the Mayan civilization, and giant city-states hidden in the jungle surfaced one after another. As the core capital of the ancient Mayan Empire, Tikal city volume at its peak is now a benchmark for world-class metropolises such as London and New York. The entire ancient city retains 12,000 various ancient buildings. The Acropolis complex in the north of the city was built in 350 BC, and the whole process relied on manual mining of stone stacking to form. The height of some single buildings exceeds 61 meters. In the ancient times when productivity was low, 20-story stone buildings were built out of thin air. In the ancient civilizations of the same period in the world, it can be regarded as an engineering miracle. In ancient times, the whole body of the temple was painted with the bright red that the Mayans favored most. After more than 2,000 years of wind and rain, all the paint weathered and dissipated. Only the bare limestone rock remains in the jungle. A 10-hour drive from Tikal lies another famous ancient Mayan city, Chichen Itza. The two city-states are like Beijing and Shanghai at home, belonging to different economic centers in the same civilization circle. There is no conflict of generational hostility. Chichen Itza is located in the Mexican state of Yucatan, and the ancient city has survived for more than 1,500 years. At its peak, the permanent population reached 35,000, and the entire city covers an area of about 36 square kilometers. The architectural design of the Temple of Castillo steps in the city hides an astronomical code. 91 steps are set on each side of the temple, and 365 steps are superimposed on the top platform steps. It accurately corresponds to the number of natural days in a solar year. Just based on this detail, it can be seen that the Mayan astronomical calculations have developed to a refined level. I have always held the view that the astronomical knowledge of the ancient ancestors was never an epiphany. To accurately calculate the solar revolution period requires hundreds of years of uninterrupted astronomical observations and data records. Behind it must rely on the stable development of the settlement civilization as support. In all Mayan ruins, the excavation of the tomb of the Red Queen of Palenque can be regarded as a major discovery full of suspense in the history of archaeology. This ancient tomb was accidentally discovered by archaeologists in 1994. The staff first found a hidden secret door. After breaking the door, there was a 24-meter narrow corridor, and the end of the corridor was the queen's main tomb. The queen's mummy was well stored in the tomb, and a large number of valuable burial items such as pearls, jade, and rare ores filled the tomb. But after the archaeological team entered the tomb, they found an unusual detail. The entire floor of the tomb was covered with bright red powder. Red played an important role in Mayan sacrificial culture, but a large amount of powder covered the entire mausoleum. It did not conform to conventional funeral customs. After the researchers brought back powder samples for testing, the mystery was slowly solved. The red powder was the highly toxic mineral cinnabar. Inhalation of dust by the human body can cause irreversible damage to internal organs. From this, a reasonable inference can be made. The ancestors deliberately covered the tombs with cinnabar. It was not a ceremonial requirement for sacrifice and burial, but a burglar trap specially used to guard against tomb robbers. As long as the tomb robbers entered the sealed tomb, cinnabar dust filled the air, and the invaders would soon be poisoned and injured. From the perspective of cinnabar refining and storage technology alone, the Mayans were already skilled in mineral purification technology, and their chemical knowledge reserves far exceeded that of most ancient civilizations of the same era. For a long time, the cause of the sudden demise of the Mayan civilization has been a controversial mystery in archaeological circles around the world. Droughts, widespread plagues, and foreign invasions were all popular conjectures. In the past, it was generally believed that the Maya suffered a sudden disaster, and the whole family was quickly destroyed in a short period of time. But in 2017, relying on pottery unearthed at the sewer site on the southwest side of Tikal, stratigraphic carbon-14 detection data, the new archaeological conclusion overturned the conjecture of sudden destruction. Stratigraphic data clearly recorded that the decline of the Maya happened slowly in batches. Continuous internal political conflicts and regional social unrest gradually disintegrated the ruling foundation of each city-state. After the continuous depletion of urban resources, residents left their homeland in batches and migrated in various places. Civilization slowly disintegrates over the long years, combined with the archaeological details of multiple sites. My personal judgment, a single natural disaster. It is difficult to simultaneously destroy the entire Mayan civilization across many countries. The land in the Yucatan Peninsula is limited, and after the population continues to expand, the arable land resources are gradually strained. Wars break out frequently between city-states to seize water sources and farmland, and man-made disasters superimpose periodic climate change. It is the core cause of the gradual demise of the Mayan civilization. Leaving the American continent and turning your attention to the Iberian Peninsula in Europe, the mystery of the demise of the Tartsos civilization. It was even weirder than Maya. This ancient civilization, which flourished from the 9th century BC to the 5th century BC, is rich in silver, copper, and lead minerals, and relies on mineral trade to create a rich commercial system. But around 2,500 years ago, the entire ethnic group disappeared without warning, leaving only 3 artificially burned and buried sacrificial temples, which became a key breakthrough in cracking the demise of civilization. The 3 ruins are Calm Bridge, Roanucas del Turunhuelo, and La Marta. The 3 ruins have the same strange ending, after the grand sacrifice held by the ancestors. Ignite the torch with your own hands and burn down the entire magnificent temple and other buildings, until they are completely burned to scorched earth. It will take a few more days to fill the ruins completely with thick soil, with a thickness of 43 meters in some areas. After completing all the procedures, the ethnic group directly set off to evacuate their homeland, and has since disappeared completely from historical records. Among them, the details of the sacrifice at the Castel Tulanuelo site are the most abnormal in the entire history. In this sacrifice, the ancestors sacrificed more than 50 livestock. Horses, as the most important means of land transportation for the entire ethnic group at that time, were a rigid demand material for maintaining business travel, and were still sent to the altar in large quantities. From the perspective of life, for example, it is like modern people giving up all private cars and trucks for sacrifice, and giving up the means of transportation they rely on for survival, which is enough to show that the Tartsos were already cornered at that time. The only way out is to pour all your family resources into praying to the gods for protection. In response to the mysterious disappearance of ethnic groups, the academic community has derived 3 mainstream hypotheses. The first conjecture holds that there are frequent strong earthquakes and giant tsunamis in the region. Natural disasters destroy large settlements, and survivors are forced to flee everywhere. The second point of view points to the collapse of the commercial and trade system. Tartsos, which was founded on foreign trade in minerals, encountered a mining crisis. The conflict of interests of surrounding tribes intensified, and the war continued to encroach on the country. At present, the most widely accepted hypothesis is the compound hypothesis, which combines the first 2 conjectures. In the 6th century BC, a giant tsunami devastated coastal ports, and after the economic foundation was broken, diplomatic conflicts and resource crises broke out in a concentrated manner. The superposition of multiple disasters directly drags down the entire civilization. Personally, I prefer the reasoning conclusion of compound disasters. If it was just a single earthquake or a trade issue, there was no need for the ethnic group to burn down all the sacrificial buildings and erase the traces of civilization. Only when the living environment was completely irreversible would the ancestors choose to bury the sacred land and move all the staff. Also, with the mystery of the legend of giants, there is Sardinia above the Mediterranean Sea. Now this island is a well-known leisure resort with peaceful and leisurely scenery. But according to ancient legends 3,000 years ago, the entire island was the habitat of a giant species. There are rumors that the archaeological team has dug up nearly 4 meters of giant human bones. Although there is no physical evidence for the giant skeleton, the cultural relics unearthed on the island, it truly confirmed the existence of ancient giant creations. In 1974, more than 5,000 fragments of broken stone carvings were excavated at one time in the Manta Plama area of Sardinia. The relics were sealed in an underground warehouse for nearly 30 years until 2005, when archaeologists pieced together the fragments. 38 giant humanoid stone statues with an average height of 2.4 meters have been restored. The New Lagi ancestors who built the stone statues also built more than 8,000 giant stone buildings across the island. Giant creation has become the most distinctive label of this civilization. We don't need to be obsessed with whether there were giants several meters tall in ancient times. We can reason from the habits of creation alone. The Nuraji civilization had a complete social organization and sufficient labor force. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to mine large amounts of boulders and carve giant figures in large quantities. After the giant mystery, there is the prehistoric mystery of the Bosca people. In 1913, special skull fossils unearthed in South Africa revolutionized human understanding of ancient humans. Bosca people were still active in Africa at the latest 10,000 years ago. According to fossil skull calculations, their brain volume was 30% higher than that of modern humans, and their IQ could reach 149. It belongs to the top high IQ group of 5/10,000ths, logically speaking. A high brain capacity represents a stronger ability to adapt to the environment, but this high IQ group will eventually become completely extinct. Instead, modern humans with smaller brains have proliferated to this day. Many people wonder why intelligent species are dying out. I put forward my own view, based on the laws of biological evolution. The brain is a major consumer of body energy, and the human brain consumes 20% of the body's calories. The larger brain structure of Bosca people means that they need to consume far more food than ordinary humans on a daily basis. In the ancient era of unstable food resources, the huge energy consumption became the shackles of species evolution. Biological evolution is never the bigger the brain, the easier it is to continue. Whether the race can adapt to the environment is the core of survival. Then look back at the Amazon rainforest in South America. For a long time, the public's inherent impression has been that the entire vast rainforest is humid, hot, and barren. In ancient times, only a small number of primitive tribes could be scattered, and people barely survived by picking, fishing, and hunting. It is impossible to give birth to a large-scale ancient civilization, but in recent years, airborne LiDAR technology has penetrated deep into the rainforest to directly overthrow this century-old common sense. Under the dense vegetation, researchers have surveyed the remains of giant geopolitical paintings that stretch for tens of thousands of square kilometers. The entire civilization covers nearly 12,950 square kilometers, which is equivalent to half the area of Hainan Island, among the 450 giant surface lines. The width of individual patterns can reach 396 meters. These seemingly shallow ditch paintings are the remains of the ancient Kasabi civilization's urban foundation. Between 1250 and 1500 AD, this land was able to accommodate millions of people at its peak, and a large number of sacrificial buildings were arranged in the city. In 2019, a new round of radar scans successfully discovered artificially raised regular roads, giant pyramids over 21 meters, and a total of 26 large-scale settlement sites. Two of the settlements cover an area of over 101 hectares, and a single city is equivalent to 330 standard football fields. The dense trees and humus in the rainforest were like a thick layer of dust-proof carpet, hiding the entire ancient city under the surface. This was also the key reason why humans had not been able to discover a giant civilization for thousands of years. The Kasabi civilization disappeared out of thin air around 1400 AD, and the invasion of European colonists, the outbreak of regional diseases, and the mutation of the rainforest environment were all potential causes of its demise. At present, the archaeological evidence is still not enough to finalize the final answer, and the answer needs to be supported by more unearthed cultural relics. The most famous legend of a lost civilization in the world is Plato's Atlantis. The ancient Greek sages recorded in the ancient books that this prosperous city-state was composed of 3 rings of land and 2 circles of water, located at the junction of Europe and Africa, and was finally swallowed by the sea and sank into the earth 11,500 years ago. For a long time, historians have believed that Atlantis was just an ideal country invented by Plato based on the city-state of Athens, until the rigid ring-shaped landform in the African Sahara Desert was accidentally discovered by astronauts. This giant geological structure, called Eye of the Sahara, viewed from space, highly coincides with the outline of the city of Atlantis in the ancient books, and the arrangement of the ring-shaped layers is exactly the same. Geological inspection data show that the rock layers of the Sahara were formed 541 million to 250 million years ago, far more than 10,000 years than the legend of Atlantis, judging from the geological age. The natural landform cannot be a sunken ancient city, but there are many coincidence clues that cannot be ignored. The ancient Sahara was not a desert full of yellow sand. 11,000 years ago, it was still a tropical rainforest with abundant rain. The ancient river Tamarisat ran through the entire area, and the ancient river channel went to a perfect fit for the Atlantis water system, recorded by Plato. At the end of the last ice age, the global sea level rose rapidly, and some areas of seawater were flooded. The geological event that flooded the oasis also happened, based on multiple clues. My personal opinion is that Atlantis did not necessarily sink in the deep Atlantic Ocean. On the ancient Sahara oasis, there was indeed a large commercial city-state. In the later period, the environment was desertified and the landforms changed. The ancient city was buried by yellow sand, and the later landforms were processed by Plato's art, eventually evolving into the legend of Atlantis sinking into the sea. A large number of Neolithic stone tools are scattered on the riverbed outside the Eye of the Sahara, but there is no trace of large-scale human settlement in the strata. The probability that the ancestors only hunted and polished stone tools here for a short time further indicates that the circular landform is a natural geological product, and human civilization only borrowed this area, leaving sporadic traces. The natural mystery of the North African desert has come to an end for the time being. The Göbekli Tepe in Turkey in the Middle East can be regarded as a revolutionary discovery in the archaeological community in recent decades. This 100-year-old prehistoric stone temple has abruptly overturned the long-standing logic of civilization and development in the global historical community. In the past, the academic community uniformly determined that ancient humans must first develop farming and achieve settlement. And only after they have abundant food can they be able to gather manpower to build large, sacrificial buildings. That is, farming leads to settlement, and settlement leads to civilization. But the excavation results of Göbekli Stonehenge completely reverse this order. When the ancestors were still primitive groups that relied on hunter-gatherers for a living, they spent a lot of manpower carving giant stone pillars and building a circular temple. After the temple was completed, the earliest domesticated wheat remains in the world appeared within 20 meters of the site. It was sacrificial beliefs that forced humans to gather and settle down, and then explore the technology of crop domestication. Faith became the first driving force for human beings to move towards agricultural civilization. This conclusion is also the core result of Professor Schmidt's decades of exploration. As early as the 1960s, archaeologists passed through this hill and saw only scattered limestone fragments. They misjudged that it was a medieval ordinary tomb or a crematorium, directly missing the world-class archaeological site. In 1994, Schmidt led a field survey and saw at a glance that the entire hill was artificially piled and transformed. Known locally as Big Belly Mountain, it rises 15 to 2 meters above the surrounding flat ground. No stoves, dwellings, or daily pottery were found in the entire site, and the ancestors built temples purely for sacrificial activities. The quarried stone only used primitive stone tools, such as gravel, and giant T-shaped stone pillars were carved on the spot. After that, it was transported to the top of the mountain for erection. The height of a single stone pillar is between 3 meters and 6.1 meters, and the heaviest stone reaches 10 tons. Fine lines such as foxes, scorpions, vultures, and humanoid reliefs are carved on the stone surface. The stone carving content of one of the stone pillars has become the key evidence for restoring the ancient celestial disasters. The stone carvings recorded a comet hitting the Earth, and the disaster occurred during the global low-temperature ice age. That lasted for thousands of years. The climate data of the Greenland ice core just corresponded to the natural disaster time recorded by the stone carvings. The headless figure on the stone pillar is matched with a celestial pattern, which can also prove that the stone array has the function of an ancient observatory, and the ancestors relied on stone carvings to record astronomical anomalies. The entire site contains more than 20 independent stone structures and more than 200 giant obelisks. Archaeological excavations have continued since the 1990s, and experts predict that the entire area will not be explored in the next 150 years. In my opinion, the greatest value of Göbekli Tepe is to break the solidified cognition of human beings on their own development path. Filling the stomach is not the only purpose of human beings living in groups, but the pursuit of spiritual beliefs is to promote the development of human groups. Break through the hidden password of the original survival mode. There are still 3 natural wonders on Earth that cannot be fully explained by existing science: the Hessel photosphere in Norway, the sublatial Lake Vostok in Antarctica, and the Catatumbo lightning in Venezuela. 3 natural phenomena have puzzled researchers around the world all year round, constantly refreshing human understanding of the Earth's natural environment. Norway's Hesdal Valley is about 16 kilometers wide, and since the 1980s, irregular light spheres frequently appear in the night sky of the valley, and 20 luminous phenomena can be observed every week at the peak. The speed of the photosphere is polarized. One part slowly floats at a low altitude, and the other part instantaneously soars to more than 30,000 kilometers per hour. Airplanes, meteors, ball lightning, atmospheric optical refraction, and other known natural phenomena. There is no way to match the movement characteristics of the photosphere. The scientific research team has been stationed with magnetometers and radiation detectors for monitoring all year round, but still has not been able to determine the cause. The Antarctic Vostok Sublatial Lake is hidden under a 4-kilometer thick ice sheet. The lake surface is 487 meters below sea level, and the total length of the lake is 249 kilometers. The water storage capacity ranks 6th in the world's freshwater lakes for 60 million years. The ice layer has isolated the outside environment, and the whole lake is like a fully enclosed, giant sterile Petri dish. Water bodies have been locked away from the outside world for millions of years. Scientists generally speculate that unique unknown life forms have evolved within the lake, living in an environment comparable to Europa's frozen ocean. From 1993, when satellites discovered the existence of the lake, to 2015, when researchers successfully obtained pure lake water samples. Decades of exploration have successively discovered isolated islands in the center of the lake and underground rivers connecting the entire lake area. The secrets of the sublatial lake continue to be unlocked. At the junction of the Catatumbo River and Lake Maracaibo in Venezuela, the global lightning density ceiling was born. Every year, 140 to 160 nights of uninterrupted lightning, continuous discharge for 10 hours in a single day, with a maximum accumulation of 280 times in a single hour. In the early spring of 2010, lightning suddenly disappeared for 3 months, causing scientists to fear the spectacle's permanent demise. After nightfall, low-level air currents from the Caribbean Sea carry a lot of water vapor. Crashing into the coastal mountains, it quickly condensed into cumulonimbus clouds, and the continuous thunderstorm took shape. This set of causes can only explain the basic law of lightning generation, and there is still no way to accurately explain the deep reason why the density of lightning strikes here far exceeds all regions of the world. These undecipherable natural phenomena always remind us that the existing scientific system of mankind, only a small part of the natural laws of the earth can be deciphered, and the secrets hidden on the earth will always exceed human expectations. Taking our eyes back to China, Zhejiang Longyu grottos are man-made monuments with great suspense in our country. In the 1990s, local villagers dredged ponds and accidentally dug out 5 giant underground caves. Subsequent deep excavation revealed 19 small caverns. The span of the cave is between 18 meters and 33 meters, and the height of the cave is between 8 meters and 15 meters. The rock wall is covered with regular lines carved in layers. Relics of the Han Dynasty were unearthed, and the cave was excavated in the Western Han Dynasty 2,000 years ago. The most abnormal doubt is that in the official history books, there is nothing about the purpose of excavating the grottos. In the age when there were no heavy construction machinery, the ancients went deep into the mountain to hollow out rocks and polish caves regularly. The amount of engineering in the Qin and Han infrastructure projects can be regarded as top-notch projects, and it is impossible to completely disappear in the historical materials. Combined with the details of the layered arrangement of rock wall chisels, I make an inference. The grottos are most likely ancient large-scale warehouses, armament workshops, or hidden shelters. From the Pre-Qin dynasty to the Han dynasty, a large amount of civil engineering technology in the Jiangnan region was lost due to war, and historical materials were buried. The existing historical books can only record the tip of the iceberg, and the top skills of countless ancestors have dissipated over the years. Across the Mediterranean Sea in Egypt, a large number of archaeological remains have gathered that violate the common sense of the times. 16 human right hands were unearthed in a burial pit, and no left-hand skeletons remained. Combined with ancient Egyptian murals and written records, it can be inferred that this is the remains left by soldiers who cut off the right hand of prisoners of war in exchange for bounties after the war between ancient Egypt and the Canaanite Hyksos. In the ancient Egyptian belief system, cutting off the right hand of the deceased was equivalent to permanently depriving the other party of the ability to be reborn in the next life, which was a highly humiliating proof of victory. Saqqara unearthed a giant papyrus manuscript, a complete record of the ancient Egyptian funeral customs and beliefs in the afterlife, which is a benchmark document in the Egyptian archaeological community. In the tomb around the Pyramid of Djoser, a 4,300-year-old noble mummy was unearthed. The ceiling stucco of the tomb has not been passive since ancient times. It is wrapped in gold foil and buried with precious accessories. All-round evidence of the deceased's prominent social status. Tongues made of pure gold were placed in the mouths of many mummies in Egypt. The ancient Egyptians believed that golden tongues could help the deceased speak in the underworld. Related tombs also unearthed golden lotus flowers, scarab-shaped jewelry, and exquisite pottery. The temple of Zeus Cassios excavated in the Sinai Peninsula fuses the beliefs of the Greek god Zeus and the native mountain god. The pink granite gates and stone pillars were buried deep in the earth due to the earthquake. The gold ring of the god of love, the bast tattoo on the back waist of an ancient Egyptian woman, unearthed in the suburbs of Cairo. All-round display of the unique national beliefs of ancient Egypt. What is even more amazing is the early simple mechanical creations of ancient Egypt. The wooden statue of Hathor hides a pulley transmission structure inside. X-ray scanning found that the shoulder and neck were connected to the rotating shaft of the left leg, which could realize the action of the statue raising its hand, which could be regarded as an early automated handicraft of human beings. A Viennese Bronze Age treasure unearthed on the Iberian Peninsula has revealed a key piece of evidence that has appended the history of metallurgy. The whole batch of 66 gold and silver utensils weighed nearly 10 kilograms and were buried for 3,000 years to see the light of day. Two of them, the scepter and the bracelet, were made of iron. But large-scale artificial iron smelting in Europe can only be traced back to 850 BC. It was more than 400 years later than the casting age of the treasure. It was impossible for the ancestors of the Bronze Age to smelt iron ore independently. The only reasonable explanation was that the raw material came from extraterrestrial meteorites. The meteorite dagger in Tutankhamun's tomb also proves that the ancient Egyptians and Iberians took the initiative to collect the extraterrestrial metals that fell to the earth very early. Ancient humans explored celestial minerals far earlier than we expected. Ancient gold and silver. Sellers accidentally unearthed around the world hide a turbulent past behind each one. In 1992, British farmers hired workers to search for a lost hammer. Metal detectors accidentally unearthed an oversized gold and silver cellar in late Rome, containing more than 500 gold coins and 14 silver coins matched with a complete set of silver tableware. It is the largest Roman gold and silver remnant in the UK. In 2015, a Mediterranean storm roiled the offshore seabed, and divers found a large number of gold coins minted before the Crusades on a shallow beach. In 2013, California residents walked their dogs and dug up 1,500 gold coins from the 19th century gold rush era in their yard. I have always felt that hiding gold in troubled times is a survival instinct engraved in the genes of all human beings. When war and natural disasters come, ordinary people have no safe storage place. He could only bury his life savings deep underground. These treasures that had been silent for thousands of years were the imprints of the times, left by the ancient ordinary people struggling to survive. Relying on LiDAR technology, in recent years, Europe and America have successively unlocked a number of lost ancient cities, buried deep in the wilderness and dense forests. In the ancient royal city next to the village of Chernobyl in North Macedonia, archaeologists found only sporadic ruins in the early years. It was simply determined that it was an ancient Roman border post. After a new generation of airborne radar swept over the hills, the entire 28-hectare city-state surfaced. At its peak, it could accommodate 10,000 residents, including textile workshops, special theaters, complete sets of living utensils, and coins of Alexander the Great were unearthed one after another during the same period. The ruins are suspected by the academic community to be the lost capital of the Gulinx Kingdom, which is deeply tied to the origin history of the family of Alexander the Great. The ancient city of Zapotec in Oaxaca, Mexico, Guaniola, was buried in the jungle for 600 years. The plane was equipped with radar to complete the global three-dimensional mapping in just 2 hours. The entire city covers an area of 360 hectares and has more than 170 buildings, divided into aristocratic settlements and civilian living areas, supporting temples and cuba courts. The ancestors rationally planned their residences based on the mountainous terrain and built irrigation systems along the natural water system. In the 16th century, the whole family was relocated due to the depletion of water sources and the lack of arable land. The giant ancient city-states at the foot of the Amazon volcano have directly rewritten the history of the Amazon's human development. Radar has discovered 6,000 regular artificial high platforms, which are symmetrically arranged around the central square. The straight crossroad network extends in all directions, with a main road extending for nearly 26 kilometers. The fertile volcanic ash soil gave birth to a large-scale civilization that flourished for thousands of years, and the surrounding defensive trenches proved that the city-state was facing foreign invasions all year round. In the past, the academic community stubbornly believed that there were only scattered primitive tribes in the ancient Amazon, and the remains of giant cities unearthed one after another completely broke this prejudice. The thick vegetation of the rainforest covered up a glorious ancient urban civilization history in the Americas. As the clues of the global anomalous monuments continue to extend, we arrive at the most sci-fi hypothesis of prehistoric industrial civilization. Two top foreign scholars, combined with the chemical traces of the strata, put forward the conjecture of prehistoric industrial civilization 4.50 billion years on the Earth. The development history of human civilization is only a short moment before the birth of human beings. There may have been advanced intelligent groups that mastered industrial technology on the Earth. To prove the existence of prehistoric industrial civilization, it is necessary to find exclusive geological imprints in the strata, carbon isotope anomalies, synthetic chemical residues, and heavy metal deposition caused by large-scale fossil fuel combustion, large-scale artificial transformation, and impact on the plains are permanent marks left by industrial activities. But there is a huge problem in real exploration. The movement of the Earth's plates is like a giant eraser. Thousands of years of geological uplift, subsidence, weathering, and tsunami can easily erase all traces of a giant city. After millions of years of geological transformation, man-made artifacts and reinforced concrete will be completely melted into rock formations. The probability of terrestrial organisms forming fossils is negligible. Even if there was a prehistoric industrial civilization, finding conclusive evidence in the strata would be as difficult as reaching the sky. Scientists have even looked to the surface of the Moon and Mars. Celestial bodies do not have the geological erosion caused by plate movement. Ancient spacecraft and man-made objects can survive for billions of years. As long as ancient civilizations master spaceflight technology, space debris will become indelible evidence. So far, large-scale stratigraphic sampling around the world has still not found any geological evidence that can firmly establish the existence of prehistoric industrialized civilizations. But the fact that no traces can be found doesn't mean that the prehistoric advanced civilization never appeared, counting the bizarre monuments and archaeological doubts all over the continents. Let's go back and think about the question at the beginning. The historical system that humans have spent hundreds of years building is constantly being repaired and revised by unearthed cultural relics. From the Mayan road network overturning tribal conclusions, to the Göbekli Tepe reversing the order of civilization evolution, then to the Amazon jungle to dig up giant ancient cities one after another. Each new archaeological discovery is a process of human beings, breaking their inherent understanding and re-understanding the Earth's past. Humans are obsessed with excavating ancient sites and solving ancient mysteries, essentially tracing the boundaries of civilization. We are constantly overthrowing old common sense, not denying past historical research, but gradually approaching the truth of the evolution of Earth's civilization. These unsolved mysteries all over the world have never been illusory and bizarre legends. It is the evolution of the Earth over billions of years, leaving behind the thinking of future generations of human beings. Reveal the history buried under your feet. Revere the unpredictable nature, and correct the position of human beings on the Earth in continuous exploration. It is the countless archaeological sites that span thousands of years, leaving the most precious spiritual inspiration for modern humans.